Stay with me, oh lover, my heart is still burning.
Blood Origins, when did this idea come from? When did it appear in your head that we should do a spin-off of Witcher?
So I would say the idea initiated toward the end of 2019, which is actually before season 1 even launched. And what was great is that I knew that there were so many stories that could be told out of Sapkowski's novels. I mean, you know this too. There are so many things that we are never going to be able to touch, because one of the things that he's great at is close-ended stories. And one of the things that I loved was this idea of the conjunction of the spheres. We had talked about it in the writer's room because we started talking about the Wild Hunt and sort of how they got trapped, what happened to them. And it was actually Declan who was really kind of obsessed with this idea. So in 2019, I started putting together these thoughts of what could these series be. I wrote Declan to say, hey, if we ended up doing this, would there be any chance that you want to write it? And he was like, yes, absolutely. Then Witcher 1 premiered. People really loved it. We thought maybe there's an audience for this. And so in January 2020, I called Declan back and we got started.
All right, so a little birdie told me that he actually wrote it on a napkin during a session in a bar. Is it true?
That is true. So what is so funny about Declan is that he thinks in stories. He's Irish. He comes from storytellers. He's a musician himself. So he doesn't just think in tidbits. He basically sat down, wrote it all on a napkin, then took that napkin, texted me the whole thing, which I still have on my texts, which basically lays out everything. It's like, who are the main characters? What clans are they part of? What was the role he's looking for? What were going to be the big conflicts? Were we going to get to meet monsters? I mean, it had everything. And I will say that it hasn't shifted all that much since then.
All right, so I have to ask you then, if you had this whole story mapped from him, did you guys ever call Andrzej and tell him, listen, this is the story? Are you giving a green light for that? Because, it's not in your books and it will be connected to Witcher. So did you do this?
So what's funny, not specifically with this one thing, but Andre and I have had many, many conversations. And one of the things that he has always said to me, which is the books exist. So obviously I'm going to base things on the books. We hope to honor the tone of the books and tell as many stories as we can. But he basically had said, if I wanted to write a TV show, I would have written a TV show. I wrote books. You write a TV show. And basically, he gets all of the scripts. I know that he watches the episodes. I know that he likes them, but he does not actually want to be a day-to-day part of the process.
Like George R. Martin, that it's on a scoop, is just coming to the set and reading and giving notes. Listen, I like it, but maybe, just maybe, we could shift it a little bit here or there.
Never. He visits set every year. We take him around. He loves to see stuff. He gets really excited. Like he was in Kaer Morhen, for instance, and the idea of this huge thing coming to life. It was the biggest set we'd ever built. And he loves it, but absolutely not. He just wants to sort of hang out. Then he goes back home to Witch and is like, great, tell me when it's done.
All right. So we have Blood Origins on our screen right now. We could see the episodes. Are you 100% happy with what you are bringing to us, or you feel we could do better, but the times were tough?
Oh, I mean, no, I am 100% happy with what we're showing. The fact is that we did make changes throughout the process. It started out as 6 episodes on scripts. We realized very quickly once we got into post that we wanted it to be a little bit faster and snappier. It's a road story. It's a story of 7 people who meet up and journey to Zintrea. So it didn't make sense to have a lot of pauses in those stories. Declan had written, honestly, some beautiful scenes of people around campfires and sort of slowing down. But once we got into editorial, it was really, really clear that we needed to keep the momentum moving so that you can actually sit and watch it all in one, go. It flows like a movie.
All right. So you realize that because of the cutouts, there are some mistakes, some things that we feel as the viewers that's supposed to be there, but we miss them.
I mean, that always happens, right? Like, I'm in editorial for season 3 right now. And it's funny because there are always a list of like, oh, I wish we could have done that. I wish it would have looked like this. I wish we could redo this. That's just part of making television, though. And so we have to put out the very best product that we can. And yeah, there's always going to be things that we certainly, and we know the audience is going to go like, oh, okay. But I think overall, what you will remember from the story, from these 4 episodes, is exactly what we want. It's about the power of storytelling. It's about how, there is not really any sort of good and evil, which obviously is the thing that Sapkowski is loves in his books. We meet the elves in a completely different place than we meet them in the Witcher saga. We start to understand that everyone has a backstory, everyone has a history. I think that's what you leave with.
Because I have this feeling when I was watching this show that it's like D&D session. Like before you go on a journey, you have to collaborate with other players that will go on this journey with you. And the first 2 episodes is gathering those characters together. Was it also your feeling when you were doing this?
So what's really funny, it's interesting that you bring that up because that's actually one of the things that we ended up switching. So originally we met the characters in a much more slow way. Sort of every episode gathered one new character. But what we realized is that these characters were strongest when we were seeing them working as a team. Because, I mean, that's, again, it's sort of the basis of any good story, right? Which is like everyone brings their own talents, everyone brings their own thing. There's obviously conflict that's going to happen. But what you want to see is everyone working together. And we didn't have the whole team assembled until much later in the show. And we realized we wanted to speed that up. And we also have some really great performances in there. So we wanted to let them shine for a bit longer.
All right, so when we are talking about the characters, what will happen with them? Like, do you have any ideas? Because I know that probably you have some fan favorite from the bunch, and it's not easy to say, okay, it's a limited thing, we are losing you free. So in your head, do you have any room for those characters to appear in different dimensions, or we're saying hello and goodbye only in the Blood Origins and this is the end?
Oh, man. I mean, it was written as a closed-ended series. It was written as this is a hello and this is a goodbye, and this is just going to give you a historical backdrop for the conjunction of the spheres. One of the things that we discovered is obviously there are some great tie-ins that we can have. So Avallac'h, Eredin, these are characters that any Witcher fan knows are going to come back much later in the saga. We get to actually meet them when they're a little more naive, when they haven't had all of the experiences that have perhaps hardened them or turned them into those characters that we know. So those, as soon as Declan pitched me, including those, we knew those were going to be characters that come back. What I will say, though, is that, you're absolutely right. Just as a fan, for instance, Ayla's pregnant at the end. And we know that that's part of Ithleen's prophecy, that there is a seed in her that will eventually lead to someone who's important in the Witcher world. So as someone who, for instance, on the Witcher side follows Ciri and all of the origin of her genes and her blood, it's like I kind of want to know where that character is going to go. I want to know if those two things are going to, crash into each other at some point. So I don't know is the real answer. I think there's always opportunities to bring characters back. And if it works in our story and we get that opportunity and if fans love it, absolutely.
No, because it's actually connects to our previous talk a few years ago when you said that television has their own rules. And if the fans and if the industry wants a character back, you will bring it back because it's how it works. You cannot say goodbye to everyone because you feel like that.
Right.
And I'm curious, will it be the same with Blood Origins? But you answered this already, that you're planning something evil. So my last question is, do you have anything else for Duncan to do in the Witcher world? Or you're going for the season 4 and everything else will remain a mystery?
Ooh, well, Declan is not in season 4. He has been too busy with Blood Origin to join me in the season 4 writer's room. I will say, though, working with Declan is amazing, and he has such a specific voice, and I believe a real Witcher voice. He, as I said, he is Irish. He grew up in this history of storytelling, and I think that the specific episodes that he has written of The Witcher are really incredible and really tap into all of that mythology that Sapkowski brings to his books. If I can tempt him back, you better believe I will.